The Carmanic rigs those videos, making the manufacturers look better. Some internet trolls do say that. Yes, indeed, it's quite true. Because this 4-meter ladder, which I pulled out of the i5 Touring, I didn't actually pull out of the i5 Touring. I somehow thought it would be quite obvious that you simply don't pull a 4-meter ladder out of a 5-meter car. But some people have sort of guessed perhaps how that very well could have possibly happened. Video trick, yes indeed, I was standing next to the car, not behind it, and then, you know, pulled out this 13-foot ladder, because no, today's wagons can't fit 13-foot ladders inside, but it doesn't have to for the station wagon to have its magic. And today I present to you, just after the i5 Touring, now it's starting with the station wagons, the VW ID.7 Tourer. Not just touring, but indeed a tourer. And it significantly is a highly attractive alternative to the i5, for instance.
Why? I will tell you exactly why. For that, actually, a certain video did truly shed some light on the matter for me.
Because the ID.7 truly has the potential to compete at the top with premium manufacturers, as we've noticed. More on that in a moment. We'll take a look at it and I'll tell you what's actually new about this car compared to the sedan, and what you're going to be missing if you've driven the sedan so far, and what comes with the wagon, which unfortunately you won't get if you already have the sedan now. It's tricky indeed. Fall in love with the car. Then, for instance, if you're already driving an electric car that you absolutely want to get rid of, you can sell your electric vehicle through Evium with our partner. However, it's really not ideal to try and sell an electric car in the market today, given the specific current conditions and particular consumer preferences that greatly influence purchasing decisions among potential buyers. So the market for used cars is, as of now, completely in the dumps. That's why you can find over 7,000 electric cars there that are already at the dealers. This one will be available for order from now on and roll onto your driveway in the summer as soon as you're willing to spend just under 55,000 euros for the ID.7 Tourer. But it's worth its money. Why? As I said, I'm about to reveal that to you right here, right now. Subscribe really makes me very happy, then see the combis work. Why should we be at the front of the car now when the magic is happening at the back with the combi hack?
Let me just say, quite crisp, clear. Innovation truly caught your eye.
The VW logo is illuminated. This is now available for the sedan too, but only if you order now, because the previous sedans didn't have this illuminated logo. And no, you simply cannot, unfortunately, update it on demand or in any conceivable way over the air to get this specific logo. It's a bit of a pity, although one can live with it because it doesn't affect the car's usability, but visually it's very appealing since it closes and, so to speak, forms a sort of light symbiosis. IQ Light is always something I recommend. Plus, getting the Matrix LED, which is surprisingly good at VW. We've got a T7, and in it I find the way it works absolutely brilliant. This specific shade, known as Stonewashed Blue, is akin to those jeans, ultimately. It's super elegant, especially in combination with the seats inside, which I'll show you in a bit. So I didn't actually gender the seats inside, but with the seats inside. Yes, although actually you can save trouble, seats are inside, but they are particularly beautiful, especially in the color combination now with the Stonewashed Blue. Rims, essentially everything remains quite exactly as it was before. In terms of price, it will, well, I would naturally assume be under 1,500 euros, different from the sedan model, which of course has to do with the fact that the car also offers more. Cargo volume, how much? We'll check out in a moment. We've got a glass roof and how that long roof line then affects the passengers in the back. We're going to check that out right away too. What really stands out here in this color combination is this nice edge at the bottom, which adds quite a nice sportiness indeed. So the car isn't as sleek from the side, as is quite often with electric vehicles for the sake of the drag coefficient, but it possesses a really distinct and sharp edge, looks significantly nicer, remarkably noticeably protrudes, thereby contributing appreciably to the visual appeal, thereby enhancing it greatly. When we talk about the drag coefficient, we're at 0.23 for the sedan, and 0.25 is the Tourer. And with that action, you leave about 25 kilometers of WLTP behind. Is that so bad, really? Yes or no? Your call. Depends on your driving profile. But here's precisely where we hit the nail, where I said it competes with the big players. You've seen my road trip video comparing the i5, EQE versus ID.7. ID.7 was absolutely the best in terms of efficiency. Please do check the video as I delve into the specific capabilities of cars differently, better and worse. But even then, you with the worse drag coefficient and the slightly worse consumption, you'll likely end up right around i5 EQE level. If at all, maybe it's still more efficient than EQE and i5, because it was indeed surprisingly efficient despite wind and not so warm temperatures. He did that quite well. We can now see the VW logo brightly illuminated at the back in red. And then towing capacity topic. Anyone wanting to tow, you can do so here too. Here one essentially has the choice between 1200 and a slightly higher towing capacity when the larger, more robust option arrives eventually. More on that later on, my friends. So not in this particular video, but another time perhaps, because that is subject to a completely different embargo. But the rear model can tow 1.2 tons. Not the best if compared to a combustion engine. I do completely understand, but at the very least you surely can tow more than just a very simple garden trailer. So let's see. The ID.7's rear light signature is very, very attractive. It also looks really beautiful at night with those clear tail lights. Oh, by the way, just before we actually go check the trunk, when I drove myself all the way to the supercharger and asked a few Tesla drivers about their car, some enthusiastic guy eagerly told me the Tesla drives that he doesn't like how the tail lights are so transparent like clear glass because it's like tuning from the early 2000s. Yes, indeed, all those Hondas and such where they have upgraded the headlights like that. I really, truly like that. I'm just an old geezer who back in the day didn't appreciate tuning at all, but now I actually find it quite nice because it sort of deviates from the mainstream, that you have such a nice glass surface here. I just really like that. And then behind, the LED. Yes, now could you please kindly step right inside here. Witness for yourself a remarkably spacious, impressive 545 liters of capacity, which is in fact actually precisely 13 more than the standard sedan model, but please don't you ever, ever forget, these volumes are always measured only up to this edge here. I'm pulling this up now, and with the sedan you don't have much here anyway. I'm so bad with these blinds somehow. With the sedan you have no leeway here, but here you do. That means here you can stack a bit better again. Then I believe one can, yes, exactly this look, push it back like that. And the cleverness doesn't stop here because now for one thing, first of all here, this one can look deep down. It's like a double floor. In there, for instance, is a charging cable. You can toss quite a bit more in it. There's even a VW logo here. Look, maybe we can sell that. Is that the illuminated one? No. No, those are hubcaps. But you can still sell them well on eBay. Let's see if I truly actually do remember to take them later on. In any case, that's a really very nice, quite large trunk volume. Ultimately perfect for the family. We have a lever here, then comes the tow hitch. Now, we see a differentiation from BMW to the i5 Touring. In that case, it's not just popping out, I don't need to pull it up, but it automatically moves into the locking position. So you really don't have to get your own hands dirty when, due to the dirt that is flung up from below, the tow hitch becomes very dirty. So here you'll need to tighten it once. So in this case, you then have to, and of course you've got to reverse it as well. Strike back. So my friends, here's the real kicker actually. Indeed, you can truly expand this trunk in two different unique modes. Once, and this is a point where it even has more trunk volume, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't know for sure down to the liter with the i5 Touring. But the i5 Touring, I think, has 1700 liters when you fold it down. The brand new, entirely brand new ID.7 model boasts a substantial 14 liters of capacity, perfect for bulky items. Just simply fold it down. A nice, really flat loading area, quite decent, honestly. There's nothing at all to complain about. You can just remove the blind from the top, so to speak, so it doesn't interfere with your loading restrictions. And then there's something here, I'm not even sure how best to show it. Please do step aside for just a moment, if you would be so very kind. We are now unlocking this very special door, and we'll be proudly showing you a remarkably unique and truly innovative feature that we are extremely proud of presenting to you, in which it's situated. Instead, grasp this part here, give a firm pull down, and by this action, the seat clicks into position, shifting forward, becoming more upright and comfortable for the occupant. Of course, this might not necessarily be very comfortable for the passenger sitting in the back on long hauls, but for shorter trips, you can thus expand the trunk space to 605 liters. So that is indeed actually another 50 liters more. No, 60, sorry, it is precisely actually exactly 60 liters more just by merely tilting the seat a tiny little bit more upright than it precisely was before. It's okay, I guess, so you might get away with it if you don't tell the passenger. They might not know the seat can be pushed back. Sure, it'd be cool to have a lever to do it on the fly. You can exclusively do this particular thing here, on the very bright side. Headroom without a glass roof is significantly more spacious than in a standard sedan. And if you opt for the glass roof, it's actually 4 centimeters longer than the sedan variant of the ID.7. We have grab handles at all 4 points, but as we saw with the i5 here as well, yes, pretty standard plastic in the end. And I've got an enormous amount of knee space. I don't know who was sitting in front, but this seat has been pulled back extremely far. Perhaps I ought to sit in the front before we even discuss addressing the front. Adjust the car seat for me kindly so you can see how a person of my particular height and build can comfortably sit behind themselves in the ID.7 Tourer. Because whoever purchases this car doesn't just buy it to pick up Tinder dates, but this individual has a family. Okay, maybe some individuals with families do pick up Tinder dates, but they do it secretly. And with an electric car, it's great because then nobody hears you when you're driving off. But that indeed is a completely different story. Now I'm adjusting this whole thing to myself. The steering wheel is now irrelevant. I would actually drive like this now, perhaps exactly like this. Now I must really see what's behind. Because the youth today, like 14, 15-year-olds, they really are quite the slackers. And not uncommonly, some are already as tall as me. So I'm 6'2", for those who just stumbled upon this channel. My build, I'm 242 pounds, so big thighs, and naturally in terms of legroom or knee space, it's almost a revelation. So you've got 1.5K Maniac fists here. So here you have an incredible amount. Room to move in this car, which isn't even 5 meters long. So you're sitting here, you have a bit more space than in the i5 back there, which is 5 meters and 6 centimeters long. The i5 indeed significantly longer than the ID.7. And yet you really have noticeably more space here. Yes, here too, of course, no drive shaft tunnel. It truly feels very, very comfortable. Here, I'm clearly spoiling the door for you, right? I genuinely find nothing more beautiful than a two-tone combination within the doors because it looks immensely classy. Once adorned with this kind of velvet, material that feels quite similar to Alcantara. Then here, the leathered part, here also a bit leathered. This is plastic, but it's a nice plastic because it's very smooth. Unlike this particular rough plastic, that's what I really, truly dislike in cars, looks quite cheap. But see, with i5 note. Lined with quality felt inside, thought of that. However, not this inside part. Here we have ambient lighting in the door, and here again, leather with a white decorative seam, or rather with the beige colored seam. We've got a Harman Kardon sound system. So it appears quite luxurious indeed. That's what first caught my eye earlier when I opened the door. That I noticed it looks very, very luxurious. For this class of vehicle in which VW is positioned, it's not BMW class, and yet it looks really, really luxurious. When it comes to material selection, I wouldn't even say that BMW in a direct comparison really outclasses it by much. However, it must be said, BMW is of course now setting the standard in robustness. When comparing the i7 and the i5 to what Mercedes offers, undoubtedly BMW is unquestionably the solid choice. But I really, really like the choice of materials in the VW. Except for that, you have it with the i5 too, and the i5 starts at 72,000. Then ultimately has nearly the same specs, at least in terms of battery size. And also nearly the same power. The BMW has a bit more power through the boost or the sport mode. But at the end of the day, you're still paying around 15,000 euros more, give or take, just for the base price. Check out my road trip video so you can see how insanely close the ID.7 actually gets to those premium brands. But it indeed is a whole lot of plastic. Maybe they could work somewhat with other materials, but I really don't want to complain too much about it. What's the exact size of the battery, please? The battery. At the end of the day, we're quite essentially on the very same pathway as with the ID.7 sedan model, I believe. So we currently have 77 kilowatt hours, which I am planning on the highway, sort of. Under not so perfect conditions, you'll definitely manage well over 300 kilometers for sure. It's now really, really good at recharging, which surprised me a lot compared to Mercedes and BMW. The charging port is on the other side. I've observed with this detailed version, and this isn't the expanded large battery version yet, that is still to come, it opens somewhat slightly upwards. It's a little bit silly, but still better than being entirely out, because then you have up to here the chance that cyclists and co get stuck. The very big battery charges even faster. This battery here, well, I've already seen, what did we see exactly? 186 kilowatt we saw at peak times. Even though VW rates it at 175, but it managed 186, that's really quite something. The charging pad is actually surprisingly very good too. And as for the charging costs, I've got a really, really cool thing for you, as well as a rather neutral thing.
The neutral thing first, essentially, because we want to save the good news for later as well, for right now.
So there were once Ionity rates for, well, at Volkswagen, they're not really available in the traditional sense anymore. That means you're paying the 69 cents per kilowatt hour at Ionity. It's that at Ionity you directly use chargers by yourself. With such a charging peak, that's important. There are other providers, Aral Pulse, ENBW. Many or most utilize Alpatronic stations and share charging power when another car connects. At these Ionity stations, you can only approach them solo. That's why you also get the full charging power of up to 350 kilodollar. And we've seen in the Lotus video that even more than 350 kilodollar is possible. So at the Ionity station, got 366 kilodollar first. Check that Lotus video. Truly insane. And price-wise, you stand there, but go through Recharge or MeCharge, whatever it's called. I mix it up with Mercedes, pay 15 euros a month, then 50 cents per kilowatt at Ionity. Almost doesn't make sense. Why? Because actually, the Ionity passport, that's my phone buzzing. I have to turn it off, otherwise it won't stop. It's a blood sugar alert. But I'll keep talking. Francesco shows you the car. No need to film me right now. The Ionity passport, now just 6 euros a month. They've made a drastic price adjustment at Ionity. With those 6 euros, you are indeed required to pay monthly. You will therefore get precisely 49 cents per kilowatt hour. So you have a significant advantage again. However, if you go for the VW rate, then you can also use Aral Pulse and Evia, and there was another place, so you have a bit more network. But I only use Ionity and get along with it in the end. It works out, and you essentially just save money if you can or want to really stick to this one provider. Now comes great news, and the great news like this. Now imagine you have a wall box at home, which according to my survey, apparently more than 60% of my viewers have, who can charge at home. That's indeed really quite great, if indeed that is very much the case. And you absolutely can charge your electric vehicle for up to exactly 10 cents below your very own electricity rate indeed. How does that work? It works with an incredible trick, which a, let's say in quotation marks, startup has implemented since last October on the market, and they're called IOND. So somewhat like Beyond with the burgers, yeah? Beyond Burger is the IOND, a bit of wordplay there indeed. And here's what they do. First, if you sign up for an electricity plan with them, they gift you a wall box. That's the number one, that's already quite cool. They also gift you the smart meter too. That's also very cool because it's important for this thing. If you opt for their electricity tariff, then you can specify through an app how long your car charges. And about ID models, that's why I mention it here. Ionity is a Carmaniac partner. I'm adding this because with ID you can do that, as VW has released this interface. With Mercedes, with my Mercedes can't do that because Mercedes hasn't released this interface. They must do it. It's also a call to the manufacturers. If you're watching, please release such interfaces for companies like Ion so that consumers, drivers of electric vehicles can get access to such clever rates and the like, can take advantage of, that means ID models are supported, so you have this electricity rate. Go into the app, into the IONT app and say, okay, I got home today at 4 p.m. Tomorrow I don't have to leave until 12. That means your car has, I have no idea how many hours, 16, 17 hours, beat me, time to charge. The longer the car has time to charge, which you actually enter in your app, the more IONT can play with their selling and purchasing management of electricity during those specific 15 hours. That's indeed great. They've power storage, storing electricity, and every 15 minutes an algorithm conducts a sale, makes a purchase, and the longer you charge, the more you have the chance to save up to 10 cents per kilowatt hour. That's just for the electric car. So if you sit in the sauna at your home or maybe turn on the oven, that doesn't count. Then you'll pay the usual electricity price that you have with them. Instead of city utilities, it's Ionti. For each kilowatt, 10 cents less. That's really awesome because at my address, for instance, it'd be like that. I checked. Now I pay the city 28 cents per kilowatt hour for green energy, IONT 29 cents. So competitive on market, because who really pays so little for power in Germany? And with this option, I'm also home a lot, working partially from home, you could. Or I could pay 19 cents per kilowatt hour. Is key for a 100 kilowatt battery pack. Even with a 77 kilowatt hour battery, it does make a difference. Just take a look. At IONT, on the homepage, where you can enter your address, and how many people you are, how many kilowatt hours you consume, and they'll send you a personalized thing telling you how much a kilowatt hour costs for you. And maybe it's cheaper than your current provider, which is entirely possible. And then you can do just that. You'll get the wall box for free and the smart meter, which is indeed a requirement. For it all to work, this unique synergy between the app, the provider, and the car. And you have a price guarantee 1 year, so it's not an individual dynamic electricity tariff where you pay for pricey peaks, but the thing is your base price is your base price and you get, well, a 10 cents discount. So enough about that Eon talk. Check it out in the description below. Now let's take a look inside the car, because I want to go ahead and show you these beautiful seats, which unfortunately weren't a part of my press vehicle. I had to drive around with just simple plain cloth seats, but it's good that now you can see this and also understand what it is tightly tied to if you indeed want these seats. Let's head inside. If VW had put a bit more thought into equipping their press cars, then perhaps the opinion of Tesla drivers at the supercharger would have been even more positive about the car. On the interior, because there's a significant difference whether you have seats like I did in the press car or these instead, simply because of the sheer color contrast alone. These are the kind of velour or whatever they are called. Yes, indeed, they're 71% recycled. Generally carpet and such, even things like the headliner, up to 100%. It looks insanely fine and it looks like leather, but it's not. It's much like Alcantara, it feels, and because of that you just don't get such a sweaty back, of course. These are what are the so-called Ergo Active premium seats. They really cost like just under 4.4 or so in price. But then you also get the Harman Kardon. I wanted to point at the speakers just now, but couldn't, sound system included. In other words, if you desire the Harman Kardon system, then you have to select these seats, or if you want these seats, you get the Harman Kardon system included automatically. They're all firmly linked together, and indeed they do look quite fine. On the sides with this dark faux leather featuring the ID stitching down the middle. Looks exquisite. Want to turn your attention to the... I replied to a specific critique in the detailed i5 video coming from someone who's 6'5", mentioning specifically, Chris, I am actually taller than you are. I have this issue with integrated headrests like in Tesla and Porsche, for instance, that you can't raise them. And he's certainly right. I totally get that, because the higher the headrest, the better in a collision. That's precisely in the maximum setting, and at a considerable height of 6'5", you absolutely have significantly more than enough headrest to surely and effectively prevent your neck from snapping if rear-ended. I hope that works for you, my dear. And then right here as well, I mean, it's beautiful, also with this light. Take a look at this. The double cup holder, really a lot of space for drinks. Even a spot here for your phone, and it fits wider phones too. Because it's not just any drawer, but simply always lies open right here. USB-C twice, that's all the same now. Only it's white with this particular design, which I really like a lot, and it's also made of very smooth material, not hard plastic. Even right here with the metal, thanks for indeed skipping, the piano black. Here, the center armrest, there's quite a lot of space inside, really can't complain about that. Also here with this beautiful faux leather cover, yes, here on the sides again this velour, it's really top notch, and being a 1.88 meter tall person, I have plenty of room, so even 1.95 meter tall people can sit here comfortably. Thank you so very much indeed, even indeed without the roofline being quite an eyesore. We have the large head-up display. Yes, we have here a display, here the large display, which we see here again. There's a new feature. Everything here is like with the sedan, so I don't need to show you much. But we are right now in the correct operational mode here. This is indeed exactly the wellness application that is here. And equipped with various programs working perfectly with all essential hardware components. Hardware components, yeah, means with the seats, with all possible light elements like IQ light, like ambient lighting, the ventilation, so that depending on the program, you then, when these components work together in synergy, for instance, power brake, that's a unique feature for the charging station when turned on. It's like it begins to gently lull you into sleep. A quick power nap, yes, 20 minutes are indeed shorter than the charging time ultimately, but you're supposed to wake up before the charging process ends so you don't start driving drowsy. So we have really beautiful colors there running through the front and in various creations. Here we see this, which is then such music comes along. Hopefully we'll go free. Otherwise, I'll have to lay down the law here at VW. It's supposed to help you fall asleep, so to speak, to calm you down. At night it looks very beautiful since, of course, the ambient lighting contributes. Here and here, we also have in the door, so we indeed have plenty of ambient lighting as well. That's nice. The only thing that could happen now is, for instance, the seat moving into a rest position, which, however, is silly if you have someone sitting behind you, admittedly. That's what it does. Fresh up, invigorate the body. Then things get a bit more lively here. Then you have the ventilation system working, adjusting differently and blowing out air in various ways. Okay? Some more upbeat music too. Although I don't find it particularly awakening in terms of its style. Large glass panoramic sun viewing roof, which can be made completely opaque. You see it? Really cool. So this is indeed a very beautiful interior. I'd even call it premium because the plastic down here, you've got that at BMW and at Mercedes too, ultimately. This here is also quite sort of between soft and hard, but it's not completely hard. This here in front, yes, certainly, but the rest in my field of vision, that is hard. It is, however, beautiful, even with these contrast stitches. I really do like it very, very much. With this very specific door handle. So designed with style, yes. So it's not like clunky or anything, but it's actually designed very, very beautifully. I quite really like the interior a great deal. And then, of course, not to forget, soon to be included, ChatGPT integration. I showed you that already in Las Vegas. That means the system is smarter than before. Since ChatGPT is involved in various inquiries, for instance, when you say, "Hello, Ida," which she already responds to, but "Hello, Ida, when does tomorrow's Lufthansa flight from Frankfurt to Mallorca land, whatever?" Then she tells that, or tells you some entertaining jokes, or you might say, "Please tell me the intriguing story of the clever fox that cunningly cheated on his loyal wife with a very large ox," or "I honestly really don't know." Then she tells, about ChatGPT's true might. So, this is actually the current implementation of ChatGPT. It does indeed have its limits, but it is still somewhat smarter than it seems to be at this very moment. Let's see if she truly, really knows. Hello, Ida. Who is playing in the Super Bowl this year? Something's off, yes, something's off. ChatGPT isn't here yet, for ChatGPT could have answered that now. Navigation and such. We've seen it all already. He's just watching the road trip video. I find the lagging extremely low on the level, so it hardly trails behind. So when you zoom out and zoom in here, it builds up really nicely and quickly. Where are we now? I've just jinxed it. So here, it builds up quite quickly. Yes, it doesn't exhibit any lag at all when moving from left to right, so indeed it truly meets a very high standard. After all, doesn't it? And the route planning, all still top-notch. You've seen that in the main video, in other VW videos. The new software is indeed very quite good. Good, really, this works. So that's it with the ID.7 Tourer. How do you like it? What would you choose? The i5, if you could get it for free and not sell it, or the ID.7? I had previously raised this intriguing question in a video now. I'm quite keen to witness the various opinions. Drove this way with Francesco Jacob after definitely a visually very successful thing. So, a station wagon. Doesn't have to be unemotional in my eyes. Especially when considering buying a wagon for family reasons, you don't have to give up your... Go horn is at the entrance by the key. What's that thing called again where you usually hang keys? Attach the key holder. Detaches coals, but perhaps so even also capture the emotion that this car just looks really quite snazzy. I can't even grasp these bad sales numbers for the ID.7 that everyone mentions. The car has done great compared to the premium brands, which are, after all, 15, 20, 25,000 euros more expensive. And then as a station wagon, I actually find it even a tad nicer than the sedan. And its everyday utility is even greater. So what do you think? Feel free, comment, very curious indeed. Don't forget to go and check out IONT, please. Just get yourself a non-binding offer because you really could save up to 400 euros a year with it. So this is a really nice integration that doesn't cost you any money, but rather saves you money. Go ahead, go on and please check that right out there. Download the app, then take a look. And then I sincerely wish you really good savings on charging at home. And of course, with a complimentary free wall box too. It never gets better, yeah? Bye.